ladies and gentlemen, moving to section 6.6. We're going to be adding and subtracting mixed numbers with unlike denominators. So as you see here, the first thing we have to do is we have to turn each mixed number into an improper fraction. So we're going to be working with those numbers over there on our left, and we're going to make them into improper fractions. So in order to do this, there is a simple procedure. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to multiply your denominator. Put your finger on your denominator. So you're going to multiply your denominator times your whole number. So in our case, for our first number here, first fraction, we're going to do 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 gives me a product of 9. And then we're going to take that numerator and we're going to add it in. So 9 plus an additional 1 is 10. Now this number, this 10, is now our numerator. And our denominator stays the same. Our denominator is going to remain a 3. So 3 and 1/3 is equivalent to 10 over 3, or 10/3. Ta-da! So I'm going to multiply my denominator times my whole number. 6 times 2 is 12. And then I'm going to add in my numerator of 2, which will give me 14. 14 becomes my numerator. 6 stays as my denominator. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 7 is 47 over 8. 3 and 1/2 minus 1 and 1/5. So as I said prior, we have to turn these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 over 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6 over 5. Now this looks similar to a problem that I know how to do. I know how to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So now that I have fractions with unlike denominators, I can simply do what I do best. I'm going to get common denominators, I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to simplify if necessary. So I can say I don't have common denominators, but I know the common denominator between 2 and 5 is 10. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction, top and bottom, by 5. And I'm going to multiply my second fraction by 2 to give me a common denominator of 10 on that side. Then I subtract 35 minus 12. Well, 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So that gives me 23 tenths. Now, as you may notice, 23 tenths is still an improper fraction, and I have to put it back into mixed number form. So I know, because this bonus taught me prior, that an improper fraction a fraction bar means to divide. And she also has that really catchy tune to help me remember which number is my divisor and which number is my dividend, remember? Yeah, you guessed it. The numerator goes in the cave. The numerator goes in the cave. Hi-ho, the stereo. The numerator goes in the cave. And I simply divide. 10 goes into 22, 0 times. 10 into 23, 2 times. 20, subtract 3, nothing to bring down. So my 3 becomes my numerator, my 10 becomes my denominator. So my final answer is 2 and 3/10. Let's try another. 5 and 5/6 minus 2 and 3/4. My first step is to make these mixed numbers into improper fractions. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 5 is 35. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Is to get common denominators. So I'm going to count by 6s and I'm going to count by 4s and see what they have in common. 6, 12, 18. 4, 8, 12. They have a 12 in common. So how am I going to make that 6 turn into a 12? Oh, I know. I can multiply it by 2. So if I multiply my denominator times 2, I obviously have to multiply my numerator times 2 as well, giving me an equivalent fraction of 70 over 12. Now how am I going to get that 4 to turn into a 12? Ooh, I know. 4 times 3. Top and bottom. So now that I have common denominators, I simply subtract my numerators and leave my denominators alone. 70 minus 33 is 37. And because this is an improper fraction, I have to divide in order to make sure that my number is turned back into a mixed number. I know you're singing it in your head, sing it out loud, loud and proud. The numerator goes in the cave, the numerator goes in the... So 12 can go into 37 3 times without going over, which is 36 when I multiply, giving me 1 left over. So my 1 is my numerator and my 12 is my denominator. Now I have one more problem for you, and I'd really like to see if you can do this one on your own. I totally think you are capable of it. So I'd like you to stop the video once you see this new problem and try it and see how you do. This is a good test for yourself to see how confident you are in this skill. So I know this looks like a lot, but let's go through it. It's really not that complicated. So as you can see, I turned my 2 1/4 into 9/4 when I wrote it as a improper fraction. And I turned my 1 2/5 into 7/5 as an improper fraction. My next step was to get common denominators. And I saw that if I counted by 4s, I could hit 20, and if I counted by 5s, I could hit 20. So I determined that my least common denominator was 20. I multiplied 9/4 by 5 to give me 45/20. And I multiplied I multiplied my other side by 4 to give me 28/20. I added my numerators and got 73/20. But I knew that was written as an improper fraction, and I needed a mixed number. So I divided 73 divided by 20, which gave me a final answer of 3 13/20.